Welcome to the Driven Dad Podcast, where we celebrate dads that live with passion and lead with purpose. On this show, we'll host some dads that live incredible lives. Being a dad is the most important job you'll ever have. We hope you get inspired by our amazing guests that refuse to live life in mediocrity and live epic lifestyles with their families. All right. So, Mark, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's my pleasure to have you here. I think you have quite an interesting journey to tell to our audience, and I'd like you to get right into it and kind of tell us and tell our audience how your life journey from day one, basically from birth, has shaped who you are today.
Okay, sure. Yeah, so we'll start at the beginning. I promise we won't go through all 46 years in detail, but yeah, so I was born with a congenital heart defect. So when my parents, who were 24 years old when they had me, which I think about that often as a dad now, but yeah, I was born and immediately turned blue. Doctors were like, something's wrong. We don't know what it is, but we need to get him to Halifax to the IWK like right away. So I was born in Moncton, but they put me on a helicopter and took me to the IWK, and I had open heart surgery the next day. And then doctors said, look, he's got a long road, and it's not going to be easy, but one day at a time, basically. So I was there for a few months, recovered, went home, came back a year later for another surgery. And then they said, look, he'll probably need more surgery before he starts school. And I was really lucky that I didn't. Lots of little hiccups along the way, but basically the surgeries held up really well for a long time. When I was about 14, 15, my heart got to the point where I couldn't be physically active anymore. It was too dangerous. They were afraid of, I had arrhythmias and other issues going on. So they were afraid of cardiac arrest and things. So I had to like chill out on being athletic and do other things. And then everything came to a head when I was 23, and I was going to university and just felt tired like all the time. I was taking naps halfway through the day and wasn't like me at all, getting short of breath. And finally, after like months of ignoring symptoms, because I was 23 and male and stupid,
Young
and dumb and ignored symptoms for way too long, I went to see my doctor, and he saw me and was like, you look really bad. We're going to put you in the hospital now. And what was happening was I was in something called congestive heart failure. So body's retaining fluid, heart's not working properly. They took me by ambulance to Halifax. I was there for a month. And that's when the doctor said, your heart's at its end and you need a heart and 2 new lungs like yesterday.
Wow.
And by the way, you're probably not going to get them in time.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy how your life can change in one moment like that.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It was like in a day. I mean, my whole life we knew like transplant might be in the future. And then all of a sudden it's like, no, it's here, it's now. And it's not just heart, it's heart and lungs, which is infinitely more complicated and dangerous.
Right.
Do you think... And you may not get one at all. That was the other like, right. Oh, okay.
Do you think you were 23?
Yeah.
Do you think at 23 we're realizing the severity of it like you do now?
Oh, no. No, I mean, in that moment I did, because I was like, wow, okay, so you're telling me, like, I literally said, how long do I have? And he said, I can't tell you for sure, but I give you a year, maybe a year and a half.
Wow.
So at that point, yeah, reality kind of sets in,
Mm-hmm.
but, no, I mean, prior to that, they'd always been able to fix me before. So I was just like, right. Yeah, it's probably some other thing. I'll be in the hospital for a week and I'll be fine.
Right,
yeah.
You had some confidence there from the past.
Yeah.
So what happened from that point on?
So he says, look, you need a heart and 2 lungs. That's virtually impossible to do because of your congenital disease and because of your size, small guy. So the donor pool is a lot smaller for somebody my size.
Okay.
And because you're already so sick, I don't even know if they'll put you on a list, because they don't want to transplant somebody who's super sick because they won't survive the surgery. So, but if you want, we'll send your file away to the transplant centers that do this, and we'll see what they say. And I was like, well, yeah, I mean, the alternative is go home and wait to die, right? Like,
Right.
it's pretty much a no-brainer.
Yeah.
So they sent my file to Toronto and a couple other centers. And Toronto said yes. They said, look, if he can get here and is willing to come, then we'll put him on the list. So my dad and I packed our stuff in Moncton. We moved. We left my mom and my 3 brothers here
Okay.
so that they could try and have a kind of normal life. And I got to Toronto and they put me on the waiting list. And you travel around at that time. It was with a pager. Now they just take your cell phone number, I'm sure. But
everyone that's born after 1995 is like, what the hell is he talking about right now?
Exactly. Yeah, so it's like this little black box. It's kind of like a one-way cell phone. Anyway, yeah, so they said, look, just bring this with you everywhere you go. And when it beeps, it means we found your donor. And we waited for 4 months like that. Then my condition got worse. And they said, we need to monitor you really carefully. So you're going to come and stay in the hospital now. And then I was in the hospital for 6 months waiting. And then September the 7th, 2002, 10:15 p.m., doctor comes to the door and says, there's a call for you at the nurse's station. And they said, we found a donor. And that was,
wow.
22 years ago.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And so everything obviously went well with the transplant and all that. What did they tell you your life quality was going to be like afterwards?
Yeah, I mean, anybody that's had any experience in the medical field knows that they tend to under-promise, right? They tend to like give you worst-case scenarios, and I think that's probably what was happening, but they could just give you the stats. And the stats were 50% chance to make it 5 years.
Wow.
Half the people don't make it longer than that. And then I think it was like 20% survival rate to 10 years. But when you're looking at dead in 6 months, like it's all gravy,
bonus,
right?
I
Like
guess.
it's all bonus, right?
Yeah.
So it was definitely not a hard decision to make.
Mm-hmm.
And then, they put you on a pile of medications to prevent rejection of the organs, which
That's for life.
that's for life.
Okay.
And that creates other issues because now if they're successful in that,
Mm-hmm.
you're not rejecting the organs, but you also don't have an immune system that's capable of fighting off
Right.
normal infections.
Mm-hmm.
So you're always balancing between not rejecting the organs, but also not catching something that normally would be fine, that's gonna, be really serious or kill you.
Right.
So like things like the flu become a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so so I stayed in Toronto for about 6 months after the transplant.
Okay.
I took off when SARS hit. I don't know if everybody remembers pandemic, but it was a much smaller one, but super serious and respiratory based. And so I was like, I'm out of here.
Right.
And came back to Moncton and and then was really, really just been super fortunate that things have really gone pretty smoothly for 20 plus years. And now I'm dealing with the side effects of medications that have taken a beating on my kidneys. So we're dealing with that, but
Okay.
small price to pay.
Yeah, exactly. That's an insane journey when you think about it. Like, I've known you for a while, but in all honesty, when I was reading the information you gave me before the show, it rekindled how extraordinary your story is, really, for me. Like, I've heard the story many times, but I probably forgot bits and pieces, and it's an insane story, really. It's very inspiring, and we haven't even touched on the side yet of what you've accomplished on the personal and professional levels, like above and beyond the challenges you've had with your health.
Well, I mean, thanks. We all have shit that we deal with, right? Like everybody's got stuff. And so, kind of when I look back at it in that like quick summary, it sounds like, whoa, but at the same time, it's like, what else do you do, right? Like something, it's in front of you, you got to go through it. So you figure it out, and there were days, weeks that were horrible. But yeah, you just kind of figure it out one step at a time because what's the other option, right? So, and I've been really, really fortunate to have incredible support and to be, born in Canada.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of things that could have gone wrong didn't go wrong. So as much as there's been a lot of challenges, there's been a lot of blessings too.
That's a great perspective on the whole thing for sure. So tell us a little bit about, not only have you overcome all of those health challenges as you were growing up, I guess, but you've had a lot of successes on the professional side as a speaker and beyond. So tell us a little bit about your journey and maybe how your challenges through your sickness has inspired you and allowed you to do what you do today.
Yeah, that's the bottom line. I have now had a 20+ year career as a speaker and coach, and I fell into that. Like, it was totally an accident. There was no plan in high school and university. I'm gonna go be a speaker. I was gonna be a teacher, and after the transplant, the doctor said, "Well, look, you're heavily immunocompromised, so we highly suggest that you avoid a couple of environments as much as possible. Don't go to hospital unless you're sick, and don't hang out in schools because it's a bunch of kids that are germy, right?" And I was like, "Oh, okay, great. So I guess I'm doing something else." And I got invited to speak. Sue Ross, who was the principal at McNaughton High School, invited me to do their guest speaker for their graduation. And at that time, I'm young enough to remember my high school graduation. I don't know if you remember yours, but I remember the guest speaker. I didn't remember what they said. I remember that we didn't know who they were. We didn't know why they were there. And we just wanted them to shut up because we were trying to get to our party, right? Nobody cares.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to think, okay, well, I've said yes, but what the heck am I going to share that everybody isn't going to just roll their eyes? And so I put together this 10 minutes and I tried to share a little of what I'd been through and maybe a couple pieces of advice for the kids. And it was probably the 7th or 8th speech I've ever given in my life. But one of the parents came up afterwards at the reception and asked if he could hire me to speak at his company.
Cool.
And I had no idea what was even happening. He was asking me for a business card, and I was like, I work at a call center. I have a business card.
What do you want?
Yeah, I don't understand what's going on right now. And he goes, well, that's what you do, right? And I went, people do that? No, what do you mean? What do you mean? And he's like, yeah, we bring people into my company to do what you just did, and I think we pay them pretty well.
Wow.
And I was like, well, tell me more about that, right? And he kind of tells me a little bit, and so that man, whoever you are, I don't know who you are, but I owe you my career.
Wow, that's amazing.
Because I went back and started to Google and went, how do you do this? And what is this thing? And started to, plug into some people and talk to Martin Philippe, who we both know, and some other people. And and then started putting my name out there. And my first quote unquote professional speech, I stood in front of 200 kids at Besbro Gym and got paid $50 and thought I was king of the world. So.
That's amazing, Ryan. And nowadays, how many speeches would you give per year approximately?
I'm doing I'll probably do 40 this year, something like that.
Whoa, that's crazy. And you're traveling all over the world?
North America, I'm trying to do, one of the goals this year is to do something internationally, but I've been to Hawaii and Halifax and all points in between. So
do you try to integrate pleasure in those work trips
as much as possible? Yeah, the challenge, and you can appreciate this, is a happily married man of 19 years and 3 kids who are busy, and my wife's a full-time teacher. So when I'm out there traveling and doing my thing, she's back home working full-time and taking care of 3 kids,
right,
and running them to activities. So there's the balancing act of I'm not going to take an extra day somewhere to just sightsee when I know she's busting her butt at home.
Yeah, I get that for sure. Yeah. So elaborate on that. That's very interesting to me because, we all have aspirations and goals and whatever, and that always comes into your thoughts when you're thinking about doing something, being away from your family. Although you're very passionate and driven by the thing you do, you have that thing pulling you back home, or you always have that in the back of your head. how do you like, what are your thoughts on that? How do you deal with that? How do you keep everyone happy, including yourself?
Yeah, you don't, I don't think. I mean, if you do, tell me how you do it. Yeah. I mean, it's a balancing act, right? And I always feel like, um, it's slightly out of balance. I always feel like, oh, geez, and I'm not spending enough time there, or then I'm spending too much, or then I'm hanging out with my kids and my wife and all. I'm like, geez, I'm kind of slacking on the business, and I probably should be working harder on
Right.
this. And yeah, I don't know that you ever find a perfect happy medium. And I also like the idea of balance. I said that, like, I don't think that exists either. I think there's seasons of life and there's periods of time where you're super intense on something,
Right.
and then yeah, and I'm super fortunate that um my wife is incredibly supportive,
Okay.
and she knows that this is what makes me come alive, and that makes her happy because she wants to see me happy. And so she has to put me in check and remind me sometimes, of course. But yeah, we're really good partners, and that it wouldn't be possible if we weren't. Yeah, she's amazing.
Awesome. Yeah. It's so integral to a good relationship and a good family when everyone's aligned, right? Like, or everyone knows and respects the other person's goals, and everyone's going to be happier if, the wife tries to cooperate, but be aligned with the husband's goals and vice versa. It's going to be better for the whole family.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, part of our jobs as parents, not dads and moms, is to show our kids what it looks like to be fulfilled, what it looks like to pursue happiness, what it looks like to be our best versions of ourselves, right? And so maybe that's a justification for being selfish, but I don't think so. I think it's
No,
like,
I agree 100%.
it's like I know you're super passionate about showing your kids like taking care of your body and being physically active is important, and the best way to do that is to model it. You can talk about it all day long, but
100%.
they watch what you do way more than they listen to what you say.
A little bit of irony here, I think, is like, so you're away for business all the time, and like, you are literally away from your family. However, because you are following a passion and it's giving you're pursuing your happiness and your passion when you're home, I'm ready to bet that you're 100% present and happy, and you're giving yourself more to your kids when you're there because you're living the life that you want to live, compared to, I'm going to maybe piss off some people here, but like, if you're working for the government, you're going through the motions on a daily basis, and you're not really you're at home every day or every night or every weekend, but you're not necessarily showing up when you're at home.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I hope so. I hope what you say is true. I think I think we all have to be really careful with our devices and other things, that it gets easy to be in the same physical space and not really there. But I'm pretty conscious of that and doing better, I think, all the time with that. But yeah, I agree. I am not, coming home and have to have 3 beers and watch TV for an hour to decompress
Escape
from something
from
that
reality.
I hate.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Or going out and hanging with my friends constantly or whatever, because I'm not. There's no. In some ways, there's no real line between like work and home. It's all kind of integrated together. My work is part of who I am, and I love it. And obviously, being a dad and being a husband is part of who I am too. So it's all kind of it all kinds of goes together.
Build the life that you want, and it's an intentional life.
And it's seasonal too, right? So the other thing is yes, I'm on the road a lot and it's busy, but I'm also, my quiet time of the year is the summer. There's not a lot of conferences happening in the summer. There's not a lot of conferences happening over the Christmas holidays. And my wife's a teacher, so there's 3 months of the year where basically I'm home every day.
Okay.
And we're like all home together. So yeah, it's in this grand scheme, if you even it all out, it's probably not that different than someone who's doing the 9 to 5 or
Right.
whatever. Yeah.
Right. How old are your kids, Mark?
16, 13, and 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Emma just got her license.
Big step.
Yeah.
A lot of categories of ages there.
We've got one in we've got one in each school level, right? So we've got a high school kid, a middle schooler, and an elementary schooler.
Okay. So what would you say, like, just off the top of your head, is it harder big kids' problems are harder, or little kid problems are harder?
Good question. Yeah, you know what? I always say it doesn't get easier or harder. It gets different.
Right.
Like it's just different, and every kid is different. Like that's
True.
I'm constantly amazed at how these three humans who all live under the same roof and have been raised by the same two people are so incredibly different.
It's
And
crazy.
so, like, what works with one doesn't work with the other, and what one needs, the other one doesn't, and vice versa, and what one responds to, the other one doesn't. And so, you're really like, yeah, you're raising three very individual human beings, right?
Yeah.
And they each require kind of their own strategy.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. Our kids are twins, so they're the same age. And from day one, it's been really intriguing to watch them progress and become who they've become, because like both physically and mentally, they're two totally different people, right? One, Oliver walked, I think like 3 months before Elise, but Elise talked maybe like 6 months before Olivier, and it just keeps,
Yep.
it's just the same thing, as they get older, they learn and progress at their own level, and they become, their own little humans, and they're very different, both raised by the same parents in the same household at the same time, same age and everything, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's crazy how they can be so different.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's fun to watch them like progress through the stages and how they, at least some of the time, take care of each other. And just also some of the time fight with each other like cats and dogs. But I had three brothers, and that's what we were like too. So
Yeah. Mark, tell us about your marathon achievement.
yeah, so I've run four of them. The first one I ran 2.5 years after the transplant. I decided shortly after the transplant, when I was doing my rehab and I was going to the hospital gym, lifting 2-pound weights and walking on the
Right.
treadmill for 3 minutes, that I'd been able to be physically active before, and then for like 10 years I wasn't able to. And all I really wanted to do was to be able to go for a run. And when I say run, go for a jog.
Mm-hmm.
And it started with that. And then we got to running a 5K, and I'm like, well, geez, maybe I could run a 10. And then it just kind of gets addictive.
Right.
And so then it was like, oh, I wonder if I could run a marathon. So I did the training program with the running room to do the half marathon. I did my first half to celebrate my 26th birthday. And then a year later ran my first marathon. And then again, it's like, okay, well, it's midway through, you're like, why am I doing this? I can't believe I signed up for this. And then the second you cross the finish line, you're like, when's the next one?
Exactly. It's all worth it. Yeah. It's crazy how fast we forget about the pain, though, right?
Unbelievable. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
were you the first person to do a marathon with a heart and lung transplant?
As far as we know, yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But you know what? It's funny because it's like I said, I've done four of them, and each one. Well, the first one not so much because Halifax is a smaller event.
Okay.
But the other two, I did two of them in Ottawa, National Capital Races. Those are like 30,000 runners. And
That's a cool event.
Yeah, it's a very cool event. And then the last one I did was a Ironman relay. So like I did the marathon leg of an Ironman.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. And actually, I did it with two other heart transplant recipients.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
So it was so funny. Like I was messing around online in some transplant group on Facebook, and just saw this post. They're like, does anybody know somebody that could run a marathon? And I was like, well, I have run a marathon. What's it? Well, we're a bike. We have a cyclist and a swimmer, and we're trying to do this Ironman relay thing. I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. Anyway, so we start chatting. One guy's from North Carolina, the other guy's from like Pennsylvania or something like that. And we literally met each other like 2 days before the event in South Carolina or North Carolina, wherever it was. And and it was super weird because I know you've done endurance races. Like typically you start early in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a bunch of things that you do knowing, like, based on that timing, right? Like, so for example, when you're going to eat
Right.
the night before is based on the fact that you're going to start at 7, and the way you dress is based on the fact that it's going to warm up through the day, and like all these things.
Yeah.
Well, this event started at 7 in the morning, but by the time it was going to be my turn to run, I was going to start late afternoon.
That's a long wait.
Right? So, like, you wake up in the morning, you're just kind of sitting around.
Yeah.
And you can't go and do
Brutal.
stuff because you don't want to get tired.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, well, when do I eat and what do I eat? And then, shit, it's going to get colder as I run, not warmer as I run because the sun's going to be going down.
Right.
It was a whole other... And I've got 2 other people that have done all their work already. So if I F this up and don't finish...
You got some
not
pressure
just
there.
me failing, our whole team fails, right? So I was like, oh man, I got to make sure that I pace myself really well so I don't screw this up.
Debatably, you have the hardest job of all 3 disciplines too. I find, anyways.
Well, don't put me in pool because it would be way worse.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But yeah, no, but it was super cool. We called ourselves the Tin Men because of the missing hearts. And,
Nice.
Yeah, we had a great time. Yeah.
That's a pretty sick event. That's really sharp that you guys did that together.
Yeah, it was really, really cool. And, but like, so we were part of this, I forget what they called this group of people. There were like 20 of us.
Yeah.
And everybody had like a crazy story. So,
Okay.
The one that I will always remember is his father and son. And the son had cancer in his eye, I believe it was. And anyways, so in any case, he was blind.
Okay.
And he and his dad did the entire event together.
Okay.
And so he would like run, they bike a tandem bike. And then he and his dad swim with him like attached to the leg of his dad in front of him so that he knows where to swim.
Wow.
And then he runs with one hand on his dad's shoulder for the whole marathon. And so
That's
you're like,
insane.
Right? So you hear me and I'm just like, geez, like, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like, yeah.
Okay, I guess your story's not
Yeah,
bad.
I can see where I'm going. Like, yeah, it's incredible.
That's amazing. Did you get any, I guess, media attention like for being when you did your marathon, like the first marathon that you were?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's Moncton, New Brunswick, right? So it wasn't that hard to.
Was that one in Moncton?
No, so the first one was in Halifax at the Blue Nose.
Okay, that one's hilly, eh?
In a hurricane.
Oh no way!
In the hills, yeah. Yeah, it was like 120-kilometer-hour winds.
Oh my
Rain.
God!
It was unbelievable.
Even more badass though.
Yeah, I mean it's a great story now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I was in the paper for that one, and then I've been on the front page a couple of times. The funniest one is I forget what year it was, but I was on the front page of the paper, and the headline was double heart and lung transplant, and instead of double lung and heart, right? And so I literally sent the picture to my surgeon. I was like, you don't know this, but you just did something that no one's ever done before.
Double heart.
Double heart. I got 2 hearts.
No wonder the guy can run.
Yeah, he's got an extra pump.
And do you still run now?
I don't. I go to the gym, and I'd like to start running again. Actually, I'm kind of working towards it. But no, as you know, I was at CrossFit regularly for 3 or 4 years, and then I got COVID 3 times.
That's
nice. Yeah, it was fun. And when I went back to the gym, my heart rate would just like skyrocket.
Okay.
And so I was like, okay, well, I gotta like find some other way to. And then being in all fairness, after that, it was a bit of an excuse, and so got out of shape a little bit.
COVID was definitely like a really, really convenient excuse for people to get off their routine, right?
Yep.
Heart thing aside, you weren't the only story of kind of people not going back to CrossFit or whatever it was that they were doing before.
Yeah.
Do your boys play hockey?
Yes. Both boys play hockey. Her daughter was a very competitive dancer for 7-8 years and just retired at age. Oh, did she? At age 16.
So, okay.
Yeah.
I think my daughter might have had her as a coach or an instructor.
Yeah.
maybe last year, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
She did a bunch of the young kids classes. She loved it actually teaching the young kids. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I find it really cool. Like you can feel that the teachers are passionate about dance when you watch them teach. Like
Yeah.
you can feel that they really love it.
Yeah.
It's cool. I really enjoy I have no knowledge in dance whatsoever, but when you go to the recital at the end of the year, it's actually super cool to watch. Like it's very impressive.
It's impressive.
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
When you watch the older ones and there's these big troops that come together, they're like 40 or 50. It's pretty insane.
It's pretty amazing. Yeah. We went to she's gone to the big competition in Quebec 2 or 3 times.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean those some of the crews that win there are on like national TV shows and stuff like that. So they're super impressive because I can't, like, I tell her all the time, they would go and she'd learn these routines in like a weekend. And I'd be like, I would not be able to remember 6 steps. Like,
yeah, I know.
How you do
yeah,
that.
it's crazy. Yeah. And the boys play hockey.
Both boys play hockey. Yeah.
Okay.
The middle one, Mateo, started when he was 11. Like,
Okay.
Yeah, his buddies were all playing hockey. He never did. And then
Yeah.
he's like, oh, I really want to play. And we're like, well, like, if you want to do it, we're like, no problem. We'll sign you up. But
Yeah.
you need to understand that most of them have been playing since they were 4. Like,
Right.
You're going to, have a lot to catch up.
Yeah, yeah.
And he said, yeah. And we were like, I was skeptical, but we put him in. And this is his 3rd year.
Okay.
And he loves it.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. There's something so cool about seeing your kids being passionate about something, eh? Like it's kind of like, I'll give you all the money and the resources you need when you show me you're passionate about something.
Yeah.
It's just beautiful.
Especially when it's something that's like also benefits their health like that. Like anything, frankly, at this point, like where we are in the world, anything that gets them off of a screen and out doing anything.
Exactly.
It's like, we're sign the check.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, we have limited experience on team sports at the moment with our kids, but Elise really likes gymnastics.
Nice.
We've tried like multiple things, and like soccer was like 100% no go for both of them. And Elise didn't like. She's kind of like, she'll do whatever. We'll sign her up for something. She'll do it. But then we really seen like when we signed her up for gymnastics, it was like, she likes this. She liked dance. She would never complain about it, and she'd smile when she was doing it, but she never really talk about it.
Right.
Gymnastics, it's like we got her a little bar at home here. She's on it like hours per day.
Nice.
So it's pretty sharp when you see them, fall in love with the sport.
Yeah.
Olivier is not a great team player he's not attracted to the team sports until now. He's more of if you ask him, he's going to say biking and snowboarding is his sport, which I have zero complaints about.
I was going to say, yeah.
Zero complaints, right. But I'd love them to experience the team aspect, right? You can probably attest to that. Like there's something valuable there.
It's been a really beautiful thing to watch Mateo because he's the kind of kid he would be content to just kind of hang by himself.
Okay.
But he's really like kind of come alive being part of a team. And I was skeptical because he was going to be certainly to start. He was going to be probably the weakest link on the team, and will they pass him the puck and all that stuff. And I got to say, like the other boys were really good to him last year, and now he fits right in. I mean, you would never like, we're talking to parents the other day and just about, when did your kid start? And we're like, oh yeah, Mateo started last year. And they're like, what? He's only been playing for a year? It's like, yeah. And you're like, it doesn't come from me because I played lots of sports, but never hockey. So
okay. How do you find the atmosphere of the sport?
Yeah. I mean, it's like, it's funny because again, we were, my mom and dad are both gym teachers. So we were super sports kids, all 4 of us.
Okay.
But it was basically everything but hockey. I played baseball and soccer, and basketball. And the joke always was like, well, those hockey parents, like, that's a different thing.
Yeah.
And definitely there's some of that. Like, there's some of the nonsense. But we've been, knock wood, we've been really, like, our teams have been all really good. The parents have been good.
Cool.
The coaches have been amazing in terms of, like,
think that makes a massive difference, right?
So important.
It's like everything else in life. Like the leaders will basically decide the trajectory of everyone else that's following them.
Yeah, in both cases, our coaches, they just get it, right? Like understand, like, okay, the point of this, especially at house league level, young sports, what's the point? The point is give the kids confidence, teach them life lessons, get them active, give them
Yeah.
a chance to succeed and overcome obstacles, and let everybody have a chance to play, and let's like keep our eye on the ball and not worry about.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we win, that's awesome, but that's not what it's about. You know what I
Right.
mean? And so,
Right.
and they've all had a really good perspective on that, and you can see it in the way they coach.
Yeah.
So we've been thrilled.
That's
with that.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've played hockey all my life, like from the first to the last year, and I have nothing bad to say about the sport. I love the sport, but in all honesty, I'm trying to dodge it.
Yeah. It's not a cheap sport, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But
I think everything's pretty expensive nowadays.
yeah, no, for sure. Dance wasn't cheap either.
Yeah. There's a price to all the sports, but it's like we previously said, like whatever your kid falls in love with, it's like take all my money. Let's go.
Yeah.
I'm invested. If you're invested, I'm invested.
Well, because anything that if they're busy doing something constructive, then it's time that they're not sitting around bored trying to figure out something else to do, which is when bad things happen.
Yeah.
Right.
Even more so when they get into their like early/teens. Yeah. And it's like you said, like the things that you learn when you're a part of a team, when you have a good leader, that's extremely constructive to later on in life, right?
I keep trying to reinforce to the boys, especially now that because Emma's older, but these are things that you're going to use forever. Like the fact that you like understanding that, you show up to practice and games even when you don't feel like it because you're committed to the team. And that you get up when you fall down, and you try again when you fail, and you shake hands with the other team when you lose, and like all of these things that
it's all basic
life lesson stuff that you're gonna have to do forever. And my parents would say to you, as like again lifelong gym teachers, they can spot in the world, in the community, the people, the adults that were child athletes.
Right.
They just behave differently.
Right.
They have like better determination. They have better cooperation skills. They have better lots of different things.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm so appreciative of my upbringing through sports. My parents weren't really active like with us too much. They did the basic bike rides and stuff like that. But looking back, actually, I was very fortunate. My brother and my sister we were all very fortunate to be involved in sports pretty much all year round, and it shapes you, right? Like it's like later on in life, it's like a common grounds with the people that you're doing it with. Like chances are you have a lot of common interests. They're probably somewhat like-minded people, or at least some of them are like-minded to you, and you end up finding lifelong friends.
Yeah.
And the better people kind of gather together at those common grounds.
Yeah, absolutely. No, there's no question about it. And and you make memories and bonds and friendships that sometimes last forever, right?
Yeah.
Like it's pretty special.
Yeah, for sure. Any travels with the family this winter?
Yeah, we're lucky. We're gonna go to Mexico. Actually, we're leaving tomorrow for Halifax, and then we'll fly out on Saturday. But
cool. Resort.
Nice. Yeah, we've done the cruise, and it was funny. We did a cruise 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And the boys, myself and the two boys, loved it, and my wife and daughter were both like, "Oh, I felt like it was felt like I was moving the whole time, and they didn't really like the motion part."
Okay.
So so we're doing the all inclusive, and we're meeting some friends that left yesterday, I guess.
Okay, cool.
So
your kid's age is gonna be freaking epic for them to have friends there. You're gonna say like, all right, see you later.
We will not see them.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
we're doing a all inclusive in Mexico too this year for the first time. Kids never took a plane yet, so it's the whole thing's exciting for them.
Definitely.
I don't think they can really understand the whole bulk of it yet, but I'm sure it's gonna be a fun experience.
Oh, they'll love it. Yeah, and it's memories, right? Like. I always say we'll spend money on experiences before we spend money on stuff every day, because
100%.
Yeah, it's memories that you'll have forever.
Yeah. 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 Traveling it's so easy to put it off. Like there's a bunch of
Oh yeah,
excuses, right? Like money. It's
yeah.
we don't even want to talk about what it costs to go to Mexico, right?
No,
Like
no.
we could have definitely put that, somewhere else.
Yep.
Time, like as entrepreneurs, it's pretty darn easy to say like, I can't really afford to go somewheres for a week because I have
Yeah.
too many things to do, right?
Yep. Absolutely.
But there's never a time, actually, every single time I take, more than a day or two off, I'm like, holy shit, I'm stupid. Like, why don't we do this like all
Right.
the time?
Right. Yeah. Well, because why do we do the entrepreneur thing if not to have the freedom to take advantage of times like that and be able to do those things, right?
That's the main purpose.
Like
Yeah.
yeah,
Time freedom. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah. I always say like my only goal is to, never say no to an opportunity or to travel or something like that. So, you need two things for that. You need time and you need money. So those are the only reasons why I want to work hard, is to
Yeah.
never need to say no to something I really want to do. But it's so funny. Like it's like it's weird how our brain works, because I know that's my goal. However, I'll ignore it and
Right.
I'll just put my head down and work every day because it's the easiest path with less resistance,
yeah,
right?
absolutely. Yeah, it's so easy to like, yeah, get so caught up in the doing part that you forget why you're doing what you're doing in the first place. Yeah,
100%.
absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So before you leave us here, Mark, is there anything interesting you have planned or exciting you have planned in the near future, professionally, personally?
Geez, let me think. Nothing. I mean, I'll be touring around Canada and the U.S. for the next foreseeable future.
Okay.
I hold my annual Level Up conference every fall, so we're starting already to plan that. I signed the hotel contract the other day,
Yeah, I've
so
been to that one. It's a great event.
yeah, I mean, I love it. I think this will be their ninth one, and
Cool.
yeah, it's a really cool day for people just to kind of again get community leaders together and spend a day with in personal professional development and the conversations that happen in between are really cool. So
Mm.
yeah, looking forward to that and looking forward to spending time with our kids this summer and yeah, enjoying. Especially Emma's like 16, just gonna like it goes so fast. Like she's gonna
Right.
be gone and out of the house before we
Mm-hmm.
know it. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's about it.
And actually, I'm just thinking about it now, but I didn't question you on your book. So tell us a little bit about. I think you've written 2 books.
Written 2 books.
Okay.
Yeah. So the newer one came out last year. It's called The Resilience Roadmap. So it's basically I took 18 years of speaking and my story and my work with other clients and said, what's the formula for building resilience, mental toughness, whatever we want to call that,
Mm-hmm.
and created this framework that turned into this book. And I always say that resilience is not about bouncing back. I think that's what we kind of
Right.
that's how we frame it.
Yeah.
And it's really about growing through. So how do we take the stuff that happens
Mm.
and leverage it into post-traumatic growth, right? Like how do we take the stuff that could be the reason why we can't do something and turn it into the drive and motivation for why we do, and what skills and lessons did we learn through those challenges that can inform what we do to make us better, right? Because I have found many people, the reason they're good at what they do and the reason they're passionate about what they do is because there's some backstory
Mm-hmm.
to a struggle with that very thing, right? And so that's the premise of the book, is like whatever you're going through right now, and we're all going through something,
Yep.
how can you use it so that it's not just something you get through, but it's something that benefits you and maybe benefits other people in the long run.
Right. Right. And where can someone find your book?
It's on my website, markblack.ca, and it's also on Amazon and all the other online bookstores.
Cool.
Yeah.
And on that note, before we wrap it up, what would you give as a piece of advice to someone that is going through a challenging event, such as, you know, your multiple challenging events in your life?
I mean, a few things. So I think the beginning is one day at a time, right? Like chunk it down. Everything seems overwhelming when you look at the long range. I always say, like, I ran every marathon the same way, one step at a time. You can't start at the start line and be thinking you at the finish line because it's way too far away. So get up today and do your best is the first thing. And I think accept and adapt. That's kind of the core of the book, and the message is you have to figure out what parts of this can I control.
Right.
And what parts can I not control? And the parts I can't control, I got to accept them and acknowledge them and let them go. And then the parts that I can, I've got to figure out how do I adapt accordingly to this new challenge so that I can figure out a way through it, right? And so, you know, the example I gave to people for the last few years has been, we all think we're not very adaptable.
Right.
And the reality is we all are. We just resist. But the example I give is like masks, right? So whether you liked them or you hated them, I mean, nobody liked them, but whether you didn't want to wear one or you didn't care.
Right.
We all got to the point where it was like, as we were leaving the house, we went wallet, keys, mask.
Yeah.
It was just part of the routine, right? But if you had told 2019 Matt and Mark that was going to be a reality, we would have been like,
no way.
What?
Yeah.
What? I don't,
Yeah.
you know?
No, that's true. That's
And then pretty soon it
example.
was just like, okay, well, it's just part of what we do. And, and that's the idea. It's like, you don't have to like it. You just have to say, if this is what I have to do, then this is what I have to do, right?
Yep.
And so, like, nowadays we're looking at, like, if you're a business owner right now and you're like, this AI thing freaks me out, I don't like it, whatever you think about it, whatever your personal feelings,
Yeah.
the reality is it's coming.
Yeah.
And, well, it's here.
Yeah.
And it's going to keep coming. And you can either figure out how to use it and leverage it to your advantage, or you're going to get left behind. Like, that's just the way it is.
100%. And
so it doesn't, like, your feelings don't matter.
Yeah.
Right? It's just about, like, what are you going to do about it? And so that's kind of the whole idea.
Cool. No, that's amazing advice. Well, Mark, thanks for being on the show. Thanks for being an awesome human and an awesome dad. And I really appreciate your time here.
Thanks for having me, Matt. Same to you.